Hey guys, Kevin Ellis Jr. here from the Apex Academy with another advanced track guide, this time for Snetterton 300 in the Porsche Cup. So, down towards turn 1, you're going to be looking off towards the left here at the 2 board. As you come in here, you're going to be looking over at the left hand side here for this 2 board. So as we come into here, you're obviously going to be in 6th gear. Just start again, gently applying the brakes and down into 4th for turn 1. Now as you come into here, you're going to sort of take a double apex for turn 1. You can see here we're quite aggressive initially over this inside curb to keep it in 4th, and essentially as soon as you hit this curb, you're still just gently trailing into the corner. Then as soon as you begin to drift back out, that's when you want to start picking up the throttle. As you can see, we're already getting back to throttle here, and then you're going to see as we go forward a little bit, this dip in the curb. This is a bit of a reference that you can use to make sure that you're back to full throttle as you come to this point. So essentially you're trailing into turn 1 from the 2 board down into 4th, just cutting across the first part of the curb, getting back onto the throttle and ensuring that you're back to full throttle as you come to this point here. You see we just have a little bit of a confidence lift, and then we're straight back to full throttle. As I could go through the corner, we were a little bit wide, and you can see we just kind of brushed the grass on the exit there. So for turn 2, again same as turn 1, looking for the 2 board. Going to be 5th down into 2nd gear for this corner now, and leave your downshifts quite late. Again, using the slow to threshold here, this prevents any kind of locking or the car squirming around under braking. So make sure to utilise that and practice it. Have a look at the VRS telemetry if you've got your dedicated or competitive subscription, and take a look at my brake trace and compare it to yours, and see how close you can get your brake trace to mine here. The slower you can get to this threshold as you build on the brake pressure, the smoother everything's going to be, the later you can brake as well. So we're braking at the 2, down into 2nd in here. You can't really take much of a late apex as the car just doesn't have enough grip when they exit the corner, so we're going to turn in just over 180 degrees of lock, and you can see roughly when we get into the corner, kind of the line we're taking here, it's actually pretty shallow. We're just wrapping it tight around the middle, make sure you really get the car slowed, and then as you get to the midpoint in the corner, basically as soon as the anti-cut sausage curb on the inside starts, you can see we're beginning to pick the throttle back up, and just be really patient with the throttle until you've unwound this lock, so that you're not going to get any kind of snap oversteer on the exit. Because if you're still trying to apply throttle with this much steering lock in around here on the track, you're just going to get snap oversteer, especially with how little grip this car has. So just be aware of that. Nice and smooth on the power, and then up to full throttle. Coming down towards Palmer. Luckily they've got all the corner names set out for us here, and actually it's quite useful because you can use this as a brake marker as well. So from inside the car, as we're basically passing the Palmer sign, if you've got triple screens, this is probably a little bit easier like myself. You can see the Palmer obviously off to the left here. As we come in, we're going to go from 4th, just down into 3rd, and you're trailing very lightly. It's not a heavy braking zone whatsoever. You can see we kind of spike up to like 50. But even here, I've actually braked just a little bit too much, because you see when we get to mid corner here, I get the nose in, and I'm actually having to see just around here. It's rotating. I'm actually having to turn out of it. You can see there we're turning in and then open the lock just a little bit, and then I feed the lock back in just to get it rotated. You don't really want to be on the inside of this kind of grated, the serrated edge of the curb here, because it's all just grass in here. So yeah, it's maybe a kilometre or 2 to a slow entry, but we still got it rotated through the middle, and then essentially getting back to power. You can see as you come in here where the kind of shadow kind of starts, this is a bit of a dip in the grass here. This is sort of your reference to get back to full throttle. So as you get to here, you're picking up the throttle, and then as you come to the end of this curb, this is your reference to be back to near enough full power here. You can see we're full throttle just before we get to it, and then on the exit you just track it out. So down and towards Agostini now, turn 4. You've got again the 2 boards similar to the first 2 corners, nice and easy. On the brakes, slow to threshold, and into here I like to wait a while to downshift, just to try and prevent any kind of rear locking. So try and delay your downshifts just a little bit more than you would normally. And I think into here we're down into 2nd gear. Yeah, we're down to 2nd gear. We like to take a bit of a late apex here as well. Getting in early like we did at T2 doesn't really work quite as well. It's a really tight corner and exit, so you want to try and take a bit of a later apex that will make your life easier come the exit. So nice and patient on the turn in. You can see how wide we're taking this. Just even from the chase cam, you can see here's the apex now, and we're only just getting back to the curb, and we're beginning to apply some power here. And you can see on the exit, just a little bit of hesitation, a little bit of correction there, and just brushing the grass on the exit. You can see how much it really tightens up from this kind of angle. You can see how tight it gets on exit, whereas when you're back here, it looks quite inviting. It looks quite an open corner, but then as you get to the exit, it really does tighten up and begins to catch a lot of guys out. You might see someone self-spin here in the race, they'll track out, up that grass, and it will shoot them off into the grass on the left. So in towards Hamilton, you can brake right on the Hamilton board. Now through here, you'll see I didn't quite get to the apex, but it's more about the speed carried, which was still strong. So the lap time didn't really suffer much at all. So you can see we just brake, just keeping it in fourth as well. I think we're fourth coming into here. We're fourth, and then just keep it in fourth. And essentially, what you're wanting to do is you want to trail gently. It's not a heavy braking zone whatsoever. I mean, it's very gentle, and you're just trailing the whole way in, just to keep the nose, the weight over the nose, so that you get the nose in. And then you can see here we're just a little bit wider than we'd like to be. And obviously we'd like to be sort of near the grass here, but as I said, the speed carried was still decent. And then as soon as you get to this mark on the inside here, you want to start picking up the throttle. You can see we've just got like 1% of input there, and then begin to gradually pick it up on the exit, getting back to full throttle, and then utilize this runoff, this graded runoff on the outside out here. You would just track it right out towards the grass, no off track or nothing, absolutely fine. Into the next corner then, we're looking at this sort of dark patch of grass here. It's a little bit of an awkward braking zone, this one. The board here and the marks on the track are just a little bit too late. So as you're approaching the corner, you're going to be scanning the grass, looking for that darker patch, which you can see just here. Probably a little bit harder to see on the recording. But you can see just this dark patch here as we come up to it. Begin to apply the brake, and again, similar to before, it's not that heavy a braking zone, it's quite bumpy as well. We're going to be down into second gear, and then you're just going to aim just to brush the curb on the inside here. You don't want to get all up over it necessarily, because it's quite there's quite a big drop off this curb down on towards the graded. So if you end up on this and then sort of track out early and clip that, there's a tendency for the car to really bounce, and it could land awkwardly and spin, or you just lose any kind of run off the corner, which obviously we don't want to do. So through here, I just decided just to keep it on the actual normal part of the curb, just running right along the top of the edge. And essentially, as soon as you hit the apex, you're picking up the throttle here. You can see on the curb, straight away beginning to feed some power in. As we trail off the brake, again, ensure that you're never coasting in this car. You always want to be either on the brake or on the throttle. You don't want to be off both, just turning. You're not going to get any kind of rotation from the car. So you can see we just trail in the whole way, and as soon as the right front basically gets on the curb, it's nice and gentle on the power. It's a really bumpy acceleration zone, really easy to spin out here or have a big snap of oversteer. I mean, you can see how late we are on the corner. We've still only put on that much throttle from when you consider the apex here. We just come off it. Here we're only just beginning to get back to full throttle now. Now into here, I just leave it in third and just hit it off the limiter in towards Williams. Upshifting it to fourth, not really a benefit, because if you do, then you're going to be entering this corner even quicker. Just keeping it in third just allows you just to brake a little bit deeper and kind of prevents you from carrying excess speed into the corner that you're then going to need to scrub off. So just makes your life a little bit easier. It's one less thing to worry about. And similar to the last corner, braking's a little bit difficult. Looking from here, you're kind of looking at this kind of X mark in the track. It's somewhere around here is your brake marker. It's really, really tough to really get a concrete reference, especially when there's going to be cars around as well. Just try and look for these kind of first big diagonal tire marks maybe, and use that as a reference when you're in traffic. But here you can see it's roughly just before the start of this next patch of diagonal lines here, and again we're gently on the brakes just to get weight over the nose. Sorry, get the nose pointed, and then you can see how short our braking zone it is. I mean, we're applying brake here, and then we're already trailing off. And as soon as the car passes the start of this curb, this is when you should start thinking about getting back to power. We're just a little bit later to it, and then getting onto the apex here, taking quite a late apex, and again just being really patient with the throttle on the exit. Quite a lot of runoff on the exit here that then tightens quite significantly, so you can utilize this. And again, we're just keeping it in third the full time, and then as we're coming off, just gently applying throttle up into fourth, then that's you onto the back straight. Down in towards this really awkward chicane now. Under the bridge, you're going to be looking for the two board here. So you're up into 6th gear, and this is going to be kind of a gradual brake and downshift section here. You know, the whole way through here, you're just going to be managing brake, managing when you downshift as well. You can see we're quite aggressive on the brake initially, and then we drop quite a lot out of it. So you can see we get up to like 75, 80% or so, and then dropping it right down to 50 as we begin to turn in to try and prevent any kind of rear locking, and then again we drop another load. So we're down to 4th. Just here you can see we're 5th, down into 4th, and then we leave it just for a little bit. And then as we get into towards the apex here, we're just into 3rd right before we catch this bit of the curb, which is cambered. So you really want to ensure that you get your left side wheels onto this. It will help pull you around the corner and line you up nicely for the next right. So at this point we're in 3rd. Just before you get to this apex, you want to downshift into 3rd. Trailing brakes the full time, a little bit of throttle brake there as well, you can see, just to keep it stable, keep the speed up as well. And then as we're on the straight bit, you can see we're still in 3rd, waiting for ages to downshift into 2nd, right at the last minute, aiming in towards the corner, and also make sure that you are braking from this left hand side. Don't come steaming in here trying to carry extra speed, because when you get to run a bit here, you're going to regret that. So you need to be nice and patient with the braking zone. If you come in here trying to carry too much speed, you're going to drift out and start braking around about here rather than braking right up against the white line here and opening up this next corner. A lot of time it be gained from actually lining it up properly. As you can see, right as we come in here, just coming off the greatest section slightly, down into 2nd as we get into the black patch of the tarmac, and then ensuring not to hit this anti-cut on the inside. You can see just how tight we're getting to it. On the inside, you don't want to hit it. Really, really bumpy. It's going to throw the car offline. So essentially, right as soon as you get to the apex of the corner, you're just picking up the throttle here, and even utilise a short shift to 3rd on the exit as well if you need to. And yeah, again, same as the last couple of corners, you've got a little bit of runoff to play with out here. So make sure you utilise that as well. Just watch when it begins to tighten up on exit and the dust begins to come back in. Don't get caught out there. So then down towards bomb hole, right as soon as you hit the brakes, right around where the dirt meets the grass, and I think you're going to be just in 4th and just leave it in 4th for the whole way through this corner. So as we come in here, braking just where the grass ends, down into 4th, trail braking, and as soon as the car catches the compression, you're picking up throttle straight away. So if you watch the brake percentage here, very gentle brake just to get some weight over the nose, and then as soon as it catches the compression, aggressive on power, and then track it out on exit. Here you can see we run just a little bit wide, just trying to extend everything we can out of it and actually just clip a little bit of the grass, but we got away with this with no off track. There was no penalty assigned or anything like that from the sim, so we got away with that. And then in towards the really complex final part of the circuit. So similar to just before Williams, where we left it in 3rd, just hitting off the limiter, we're going to do the same thing here. We're just going to leave it in 4th, as there's no reason to carry excess speed in here. We can hit off the limiter in 4th the whole way in, and then essentially we're looking for these kind of diagonal marks in the track. Again, it's really, really hard to spot a braking zone into here. Just try and familiarise yourself with some lines on the track, like these kind of diagonal tire mark lines here, or essentially these ones here, my brake marker. But you can see we're gradually sort of coming off the throttle first, and then applying the brake, as opposed to just lifting fully off the throttle straight away. And we're really gentle on the brakes. You don't need any crazy input. It's just enough just to get the car slowed down, get some weight over the front to get the nose turning in, and then as soon as you get to near the start of this, you can even utilize the end of this thin curb. That's when you want to start picking up some throttle. And all this is going to do is, we've decelerated the car sufficiently. We don't need to scrub off any more speed. We're out in the middle of the track. We're not way out in no man's land out here. There's no reason to be out in the grass. Just extending out to the middle of the track is perfectly fine. And then we're going to get back to throttle, not full throttle though, because obviously that's going to start pushing us out. But just enough throttle just to engage the diff, to start rotating the car while also, increasing the speed again. Because it's really awkward where you need to slow down into here, and then so you're on the brakes slowing down, then you need to speed up, and then you need to come into this secondary braking zone to then slow down again. So all we're doing here is just playing around with the throttle percentage just to try and keep the diff, manipulating the car to get it to turn. And then as we come in, this third last board is essentially your brake marker. So in here we're just keeping it in 4th, I believe, the full time. Yeah, you're leaving it in 4th full time, and then as you get to this first cone here, big drop of throttle, little dab of brake, and then you're actually onto the brakes for real when you get to this part. Now through here, you just want to trail enough brake just to get the weight over the front again, keep it rotating in line with the circumference of the corner, the same kind of rotation, so that you're turning in for the last corner up against this grass. You can see we are here, we're right up against the grass on entry. Just utilising the brake to trail in here, and then aiming in towards the final corner. And again, same as the chicane at the end of the back straight. Avoid hitting this big anti-cut on the inside line. Just get as close to it as you physically can, and pick up the throttle before you get there. You want to ensure you carry a good run off the final corner. This will prevent people from passing you, and also give you some pass opportunities here. You can see our left front, just as it comes to the apex, picking up throttle, and then as we apply the throttle, unwind the lock, and then utilise this exit grating out here, the bit of astro and pavement. You can utilise this. There's no off track for that, and again, ensure you get back onto the track before you catch this grass. And with that, that's a lap of Snetterton 300. So hopefully you guys have found this informative. As always, if you've got any kind of questions, ask them in our Discord. I'll get back to you. But apart from that, guys, we'll catch you next week, and all the best.